To an I'm sorry, I gotta let me clear my throat again. Pardon me, excuse me. Welcome to another episode of Drug Dealers to Businessmen podcast. I'm your host, Duane Cofield. Man, it is November 14th, 2022. We are in the beautiful city of Los Angeles. This is the weekly tap in, and I'm tapping in. What's cracking? What's good? Another episode, man. We're in season 4. We're coming in with a vengeance, consistency, everything that we need to do to be successful. So today's episode is episode 2 of season 4. Thoughts become things, man. If you guys are watching on the live, we appreciate you. Make sure you put your city where you're tapping in from so we can give you a shout out. I know we're competing with Monday Night Football, but it doesn't matter. The beautiful thing about media now is that you can replay this stuff. So you don't need to listen live. It doesn't even matter if you're watching live. I don't care. Go do what you're supposed to do. If you need to watch football, if you need to watch the basketball game, you need to help the kids with homework, please go do so. But put this on in the background when you're cleaning the house, when you're lifting, when you're running, whatever the case may be, man. Let me be that motivating ear for you and anybody else who needs it at this time as we expand. So thoughts become things, man. I know it seems pretty basic and simple, but I'm gonna start off with just somebody who I just recently recognized as how they actually made it happen, man. Shout out to Yo Gotti and Angela Simmons, man. So if anybody's watching, Yo Gotti is, I think he's with Angela Simmons right now or something like that. But the more important thing is this cat talked about it in a song like 10 years ago or something like that. Like that, maybe not 10 years ago, but long time ago. And for him to actually be with her, what's going on, Steven? What's going on, Shavante? Appreciate y'all tapping in. Salute. Appreciate you as always. But for him, when I saw him on the trips and this and this and that, and I'm like, man, this dude had that in his mind a long time ago. He already said, man, I got my eyes on this one. The opportunity's gonna meet. I'm gonna be in the right place, the right time. I'm gonna be positioned right. What's going on, Tanisha? Appreciate you tapping in. What's going on, Samuel ATL in the building, man? All my regulars is here. I totally appreciate y'all. But he been have that on his mind for a minute. So that's not something that just came about, right? He been thinking about that. He been thinking about what he was gonna do. I'm gonna take her here. I'm gonna do this. What's going on, Craig? Toronto. Appreciate the Canadian checking in, man. It's love. But yeah, he already had it in his mind what he was gonna do when he get it, right? And when you think about that, man, you put that kind of thought, that kind of power and belief into something, it's gonna happen. It really is. It's just a matter of when. So if you're thinking about somebody, you like, man, I mean, and don't reduce yourself to where I can't think that into existence. Yes, you can. Anything you want. So it's one of those things. It's like it's a gift and a curse because if you don't do it the right way, you're gonna think yourself into some bullshit, right? You know what I'm saying? You're gonna think yourself into something bad happening, right? So when you think about that, like, man, I think about that. Man, it's a perfect example. Dude talked about it in a song in 10 years. Next thing you know, he's on his arm 10 years later. 10 years, one dude later, a child, whatever. Doesn't matter. He still manifested it, right? He still made it happen. And that's what we have to realize, man. The power of the mind is so underrated, man. I mean, I cannot stress to you how underrated. What's going on, D-Town, man? Appreciate you, homie. I appreciate y'all you guys tapping in. I could not do this without you, man. So just know that I build my weeks. I build everything around this experience, this interaction, this exchange of game that takes place with you and I. Whether it's on a one-on-one, whether it's you guys are repeating it, this is all God's work. I don't take any credit for that. We talked about that last episode, right? We talked about the ego, how it's not even credit doesn't matter, right? Those who need credit, man, need to probably get bigger. You shouldn't need that. What's going on in Oklahoma, man? I got all my peoples, man. I got people from all over the place tapping in. And that's this cat, man. That's God. Because he know what we about to exchange right now. And when we think about things, the power of our thoughts, man, we've talked about this in the past, even from the game, right? We thought ourselves. I thought myself in every car I had, my Elko, my Tahoe, my Cutlass, all that stuff I thought into existence, right? Even the jealousy, the girl, I see something, I want it, and I get it. It may not be immediate. What's going on, Little Rock? Appreciate you tapping into Arkansas in a bit. I just said something about Arkansas, I think. But yeah, whatever I think about, I can get. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, it's good and bad. So how do we one recognize that we have that power? These are little small experiments you can try. Let me think about this. Let me think my way into this. Okay, I'm gonna get in. I'm gonna get a parking space. You can start with a parking space. Talk yourself into a parking. Man, I'm about to get the best parking space in this month. Right? It could be as something as simple as, man, I'm about to get the best parking space at the grocery store. My grocery trip is about to be the business. I'm gonna find something. And you just start talking yourself into something, even if it doesn't happen the way you want it. Don't think that it's not going to happen. It may happen tomorrow, right? See, the thing where we get misconstrued and mistaken is that we think things are supposed to happen immediately. We're magical genies. Don't get it twisted, right? We can do things. Hey, poof, and but it might take God's time, right? God is that magic where you just rub the little thing and he was like I dream a genie, but it doesn't happen fast. It's coming, right? And in Yo Gotti's situation, it took 10 years, but you get it. The house may take a long time. It may be an alternate route that you're going to get, but you're going to get it. You may get it when everybody else is that. I remember, man, I remember a time when I was up in shout out to the hot dad. I was up in Victor and everybody was buying houses. Everybody. Cash was buying them, da, 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 and they was expensive. And I'm like, man, this is what they costing up here. I'm like, man, I'm gonna miss out. Right. And I'm like, damn, I start thinking bad. And this is where the bad part of thought, you start thinking jealous thoughts like, why not me? And God doesn't like that. God doesn't like why not me because you doubting him and you saying that it's never gonna happen. So when you get on some why not me, he's like, I got you, homie. I got other stuff to do. And you have other things you need to accomplish before I give this to you. You need to be ready to receive it. That's a hard part for people to really comprehend. Am I ready to receive that kind of blessing? Am I ready to receive what I'm really, really asking for? So even though you may think about it, right? So now, even with us, we're thinking about the restaurant. We're trying to be, I'm thinking of what it's going to play, like the music, I'm thinking about all this. It's coming. I don't know when. And that's the beauty in it. You can't worry about it, but it's also the more difficult part. Trying not to worry. You see what I'm saying? You can't just you gotta think it into existence. Okay, I'm gonna think about it every now. It can't contain you, right? It can't be to where it's just overpowering. This is all I think about. I was talking to my relative this past weekend. He was talking about the business. He's like, man, if it pops, it pops. If it doesn't, it doesn't, because I'm passionate about it. And I'm like, it's beautiful. Because sometimes you could think so much into something that it starts to run away from you. That desperation kicked in. We had that conversation before. You feel what I'm saying? Where we can be so desperate that we push things away. Almost like when we had that relationship with a spouse or whatever, we so on her or him that they like, man, this is uncomfortable, dog. I can't function like this. I need some space in order to come true for you. I can't have you on my bumper every day. You know what I'm saying? And then sometimes we have to be on to what we were talking about last week. We got to think things into existence for other people. You know what I'm saying? That's think success for other people. Speak life into them. Wish them well in a real sense. When's the last time we really wish somebody well? Somebody we didn't even know. Man, I hope you win, dog. Like really do. You know what I'm saying? Like when they were talking about somebody hit the Powerball. Somebody hit the Powerball in my city. And I'm like, damn, first thought is why not me? Right? God doesn't like that. Why not me? Why not them? You feel me? Why not them? Why does it have to be you? Why our egos man, I gotta be the one. No, you don't. You could think things into existence for other people. What a lookout, man. Let me think them into success. Let me think them into because I have the power of thought and I can also hate on them. I could wish bad to them and see that happening. Like, damn, I got that much power. Yes, you do. Especially if they believe in it too, right? You have that much mind, man. The mind is, we haven't even really discovered its full potential. And I know that's cliche. A lot of people say that. But in the truest sense, we really haven't seen what this thing can do. And it could think some shit, like some real stuff into like, God, I got power. Yes. Right? Yeah, that's exactly trying to put people up on game. Because the thing about it, like I said, I was talking to somebody about networking. I said, man, a lot of people get networking twisted. I said, they go in with the concept of, I'm getting ready to sell myself. Real networking takes place when you're the conduit, when you're the person who introduces someone to someone else. When you're thinking good thoughts, let me connect these people, make it pop for them. You watch The Black Godfather, Clarence Avon on Netflix. Do yourself a favor. Watch it and watch what he did. He connected for a living and ended up in Hancock Park in LA, which is by the damn mayor and Chandra Rhimes. Right? So think about what kind of level he was on. Now, recently his wife got killed, which was tragic, but at the same time, he just connected people, right? I did that with my sales class. First exercise we do, introduce somebody. Be the connect that connects people. Because that's the valuable one. Man, I need, and then they start needing you. I need to do this. Let me see if I got somebody in my Rolodex, right? I don't have a product. I don't need one. I just need to connect people. And that's where people, talking about network, that's where people get it twisted. Because we're so ego, I need to win. You win by connecting other people. By helping other people win is when you get your real prize. I promise you that. It's as hard as it is. And again, we want to take credit. When we help somebody, we want to tell the world, right? You know what I'm saying? We want to tell everybody, hey man, I helped such and such. Now, you don't have to tell. You don't have to tell everybody. Sometimes it's between you and God and them. And sometimes it's between you and God. You know what I'm saying? And you get intentional, right? I told my wife the other we was today. She was like, "What are you looking for?" I was like, "Man, I said I usually keep money for people on and I try not to really talk about it because that's between me and them and God, right? You know what I'm saying? God telling me put a couple bones and every time you got some loose like couple dollars, put it in here so that you ain't looking for it and feel some type of way like you got to judge somebody. Go ahead and get that to them. You already put it up for them. So this is thinking things so far ahead in advance. Like I'm gonna run into somebody like this that's gonna need this. So let me learn it. Let me figure it out. Let me read this. Let me learn this particular method. Let me learn how to do this. Why? So that I can help somebody else out in the future. I can pay it forward. Those are deep thoughts. And are we thinking like that? Or are we thinking immediately? And one of the things about it is, speaking of thought, if you're not intentional with your thought, meaning that you're not setting the intention and the tone as soon as you get up in the morning. I'm talking about as minute you get up in the morning, because if you think you're gonna win with just sheer, hey, I'm me, man, this is a spiritual war, man. The enemy will take your legs out so fast. And then start with your car batteries, some basic shit. And he'll just start lighting you up. Right? You like, whoa. But if you set your intention for the day, right? You put it on paper, right? You start to make that. It's basically a contract with the universe, right? You're starting to put here's what I want to happen. And guess what's happening? You start to think it. So you start to visually think it. And that's when it's that it's like some type of magic. It's hard for me to even explain. But read The Alchemist and you might get an understanding that you can create, you know what I'm saying? Just out of thought. Half the things that we're dealing with, everything, TVs, cameras, this was all somebody's thought, period. This was somebody's thinking like, oh man, I wonder if we can do this. I wonder, if you connect these, I wonder what they will do. I'm thinking they might do X, Y, Z. The brain, right? But what do we get? So if our brain is our fertile ground, right? And whatever seeds we plant in there, that's gonna grow, right? So where do we get our seeds from? Right? That's the question we really need to ask. What kind of seeds I got? I can tell. I can walk by somebody, look at their garden, be like, man, you got some bullshit. You know what I'm saying? You need to dig all that stuff up and start all the way over. You know what I'm saying? Why? Because that's not gonna work. right? That's not going to produce good fruit. You may get a raggedy ass apple here and there, but it's not going to produce good fruit. What is going to produce good fruit? Circle of friends, right? The people that you interact with on an everyday basis, are they climbing mountains? Are they walking around in circles? You need to figure that part out. If they're not climbing mountains, they can't tell you nothing that's on the horizon. They walking around in circles, they can tell you about that circle. They can tell you about what's going on right then and there. But are they expanding their horizon? They're gonna make you think, right? I listen to complex podcasts, cats that stretch my imagination. I don't listen to. I go to my TED talks are in different neighborhoods. I'm not gonna go to my local hood one because I know what they talking about. I get it. I know what y'all agenda y'all pushing. Now over here, where they don't think that I know about it, I'm about to learn how they think it. What are you guys putting on the forefront? This has been working for me because I'm on my talented 10 shit while I still bring it back to the neighborhood and distribute it. They let one in the room, me, right? But I thought about that, right? And every time I go, I start thinking about that red dot. Am I ever going to do a TED talk? I don't know. But I wish somebody in my circle would so I can go support them, right? And if it's not me, hopefully it's them. I'm getting away from that ego. You know what I'm saying? That ego is a hard motherfucker to please. Just being honest with you, excuse my French, but it really is. And the more you try to constantly feed into it, like how am I going just just constantly do more but for me, man, that shit get old. Like even I'll tell you what the biggest example of that is. It's Christmas. Right? Think about that, right? We get gifts and it's like, oh, good luck. My wife gets me really good gifts. My mom, my wife, they give me really good gifts. I will say that. But my true blessing is when I'm giving to somebody else. That's the true feeling of joy, right? Just seeing the smiles on their faces when I am giving to them. So that's what I'm trying to be. I know I can be more. A conduit has what? Inlet and outlet has it's constantly things are going through it, right? It's not keeping anything, it's not storing shit. It's come through, information come through. I throw it out. Here, man. Come through me. You know what I mean? God, keep using me, man. Because the more you use me, the more I learn. Even if you're doing it for somebody else, even if you're trying to bless somebody else via me, I learn, which is a difficult one to swallow, right? Damn, I learned by helping him. Yes. That's the whole goal. What do you get true satisfaction from? Ego? No. We did that last week. Now we're thinking things into existence, right? Once we realize our power, who do we use our superpowers for? Do we use them for ourselves? Do we constantly keep because we know we can just imagine like you're the genie, you can create whatever you want, right? How long you keep gonna do you? Think about that. How long you gonna do you? I know I can create whatever I want. I'm gonna just keep giving myself shit. I figured that out a long time ago. I'm like, man, I can't keep. I know I can create all this stuff. I'm gonna keep doing it for me. I'm over myself. How many people can say that, man? I'm over myself, dog. You know what I'm saying? I had enough of my shit. I'm good on me, right? That's hard. Unless your ego's. And I was telling my wife, I said, I don't even want no. I said, I like my Camry. It smells old now. I'm like, man, this car is perfect. Most I'm getting is, I think, like electric Silverado. Man, that's like 5 or 6 years from now. That's it. And I said, if I hit the lottery, we get one more house so that my mom can have more space, and I get my electric truck. I said, you wouldn't see no Lambo, you wouldn't see no Porsche, you wouldn't see none of that. Why? Because I'm over it. And that's such it's the feeling is unbelievable to know that you from this point on, you just doing God's work. That's man, what an agreement. So just me and you, man, just keep doing this, and I'm gonna keep using you. Come on. And then once we realize the power of our thought, yo, we're superheroes. We've already established that a long time ago. We're superheroes, right? We just haven't figured out what our superpowers are. And our thinking, that's the first thing we have. Look at the size of our brains. Go to the Natural History Museum. That will enlighten you, right? The size of our brain versus everybody else's, right? And when you used to, people used to talk about me all the time. Oh, D, you got a big head. Oh, man. I'm like, man, I used to like hate it. Like, especially when they used to do the thing in class where they make you draw the shape of your head on this projector. I'm like, man, really? Like I got the biggest head in the class, but I also had the biggest brain, right? My head wouldn't be this big for a little peanut ass brain. Just saying. So I'm taking that, you know what I'm saying? And I'm realizing I got more computing power. So how do I use that computing power? I can think things into existence. Can you? Yes. How? Watch. What you think about the majority of time you will have. How do you get those inputs? Think about where the inputs come in from. You got sensory, right? You see, that's directly connected to your brain. You hear, directly connected to your brain. You smell, directly connected to your brain. So those three inputs alone, what are you listening to? What are you hearing? What are you watching? Right? Because what that comes in, what input comes in has an output as well. So what's your output, man? If you cussing all the time, okay, you must be hearing a lot of cuss words. If you're speaking about life, you must be around somebody who's enjoying this shit. So it really, whatever you're around is going to come off in you, right? Think one of somebody talked about somebody cooking fish. You being around somebody cooking fish, you're gonna come out the house, even if you put some polo on top of it. You're gonna be a fishy polo ass cat. But that you still can't get rid of the fish smell. You feel what I'm saying? So the thing about it is you got to really protect your environment because it impacts you in more ways than you could think. And even your limitations on thoughts, right? Which is why sometimes I had to move out of cities because of the limitations on thought. So the whoever's doing the most, so this what we doing buying 50-inch rims because that's what the leader doing. I got to expand my horizons to where I see other things that are possible. It can't just be 50-inch rims. I'm just saying. But if that's all I see, right? That I'm gonna think that that's the prize. This is what I see. Until you see people changing lives, until you see more than that, until you go to Malibu and you like, man, 50-inch my ass, dog. Y'all playing, right? So it takes a lot for you to go and sometimes expand your horizon so that your brain expands so that you can see more of the possibilities, right? You can see people who have turned entrepreneurial stories, inspiring stories. The more information you go around, the more stories you're going to hear, the more interesting people you hang around, the more interesting book titles you're going to get exposed to. It's just that, you know what I'm saying? So who you pick and choose, sometimes you got to be by yourself and let God and podcasts be your homies because the other homies ain't talking about anything or they're not, you know what I'm saying? They're not mentally at that stage where you at and you like, man, I need more. I don't need complaints. I don't need somebody hemming and hawing talking about how tough life is. Shit is hard for me too. That's just like standing next to somebody doing push-ups. You got to do 50. Both of y'all doing 50 push-ups, but this person's complaining about the push-ups. It's hard to do the push-ups. I'm like, homie, I'm trying to psych myself out to finish this 50 pack. And you on 20 struggling, complaining about it. I can't listen to that. I need to be hearing somebody like somebody who about to do 100 and seeing what they're talking about. That's somebody who pulled me up a little bit, homie. You need that sometimes. Stretch your imagination, homie. Let me show you what's possible, right? Let me be the sacrificial lamb in that sense. Let me show you what's possible. And you got to hang around people like that. And if you can't find them, you can find them on podcasts, videos like this. They around, they get it, right? They understand what it takes, and they understand how God is everywhere. And the thing about it is, you'll understand that you talk to you even listen to the ones who Omega, they tell you they saw this a long time ago, their success. They manifested it. It just took time, right? It takes time to move and arrange stuff, especially if you got big deal ideas. That takes a lot of coordination and movement, strategic movement. God gotta sometimes he gotta employ thousands of angels in order to accomplish one of your moves and coordinate them all. So you know it's him, right? That's hard. That's sometimes you oh man, don't go esoteric. No, 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 no. We can comprehend this. We understand how God works, whether he saved our ass on trial, the pen, police got behind us, whatever. We know how God works, right? He's given us that power. Think it into existence. What do you want? We had that conversation, right? That was last season, early episodes. Like a waitress, what the man? What do you want? Getting impatient. I asked my son, you need to be thinking about stuff. What do you want? I don't know. Well, you must not want it then. You need to get on some Yo Gotti stuff where you thinking about something 10 years down the line. I don't care when I get it, I'm getting it. And you got to be persistent sometimes, or the universe doesn't think you're serious. So you got to think things. What do you want? Right? Don't think about what you don't want. There's no sense of talking about what you don't want. There's absolute listen, and I'll repeat it again. It makes absolutely no sense to talk about what you don't want. There's so much power in thought and word that what you're speaking is going to come into existence. The universe doesn't know whether you're bullshitting or not. It has no idea. All it does is follow orders. So if you start talking about I'm fat, I'm dumb, I'm this, I'm that, all it's going to do is send confirmations your way to make sure that that shit is real. That's it. So you got to watch your mouth. You know what I'm saying? You really do. Watch your mouth and watch your brain and your inputs. Where am I getting this input? You know what I'm saying? Does it feel good? Is it making me salty? Nightmares. Let's talk about that. For watch the first 48 before you go to sleep and see what kind of nightmares you have. See what kind of day you wake up with versus listening to an inspiring ass podcast before you go to bed and watch how you get up. Our thoughts are in our subconscious, they just sit there. And we wake up either crispy or crusty, not excited about what we getting ready to do, or we wake up ready to kick the universe into you know what's and say, let's get rolling. That's the choice we have to make, and those start with our thoughts. How do we curb that? Check myself. Let me listen to this. What motivates me? Let me buy an Audible book, something that's neat and to the point that I can, make sense out of and I can sleep on. Meditating music. My son listens to rainforest sounds when they sleep. Love it. Wakes up peaceful. You hear the crickets, and it sounds like you sleeping in a majestic forest in his room. That's dope. So that's not, he doesn't have anything. His mind is clear when he goes to bed. It's so critically important because you can fester on something. That's why they say don't argue before you go to bed, because you sit on those unpeaceful thoughts and they just sit there and fester and ultimately lead to stress and lead to that silent killer, which is a stroke or a heart attack. That's where that stress comes in. Not thinking the right thoughts. You're thinking what could go wrong. I have to check my son about his thoughts because naturally our brain leans towards safety, which is precaution, which is dangers around us. Let's protect it. We think in worst case scenario, which is the whole point of insurance, right? We're not thinking the best case scenario. It's not popular to think the best case scenario. I'm a realist, man. We got enough fucking realists in the world. We got enough. And then when they're wrong, this has never happened before, right? This has never happened before. We're shocked, man. That's because you're basing your judgment on past information. And the only person that deals with past information is the enemy's ass. Right. So whatever expert, I'm basing it on research, right? Man, get out of here, homie. You know what I'm saying? I'm basing on what God has shown me. And he's shown me miracles. Like, man, impossible shit. I'm rocking with that. So I'm gonna think some impossible stuff because I've already achieved some impossible shit. So I'm gonna continue that impossible flow because God hasn't told me to change my tone otherwise. I believe in impossibility, right? Or else it wouldn't be even talked about. If we're talking about it, then it's possible. I keep watching the NFL. The field goal kickers keep getting better. Pretty soon they're gonna be kicking 70-yard field goals. And after that, it's gonna be 100-yard field goals. Why? Because they're expanding the mind. The body will do whatever the mind tells it. And the only limitations that the mind has are the ones we set ourselves. So we already telling ourselves, man, I can't do this. I can't open a business. I can't run this. Why not? Because I come from that, man. Shit, defy the odds, dog. What are odds? Some man-made statistic that says that you probably can based on probability shit. We've been breaking probabilities, busting that down for eons, right? We black folks. That's and not all of them. I'm just saying some of us, but those who even come from this side of the fence, the street. We've been busting that. What odds? My Latino brothers, my Caucasian brothers, my Asian, but all up, man. We've been. I didn't mean to sound like that. I didn't want to. I just want to clarify. It's not like that, but it is because we've been busting down barriers, right? So odds don't mean shit to us. They don't mean much. We need to get over that, man. Whatever the odds of you, right? They told me about recidivism too. Said 85% of y'all come back, man. You might as well put me in that. Even not, don't even put me in that 15%. Put me in that 1% that not only doesn't come back, but convinces about a million other homies not to come back too. So put me in that percentage since you're doing calculations and shit. While you got your calculator out, you know what I'm saying? Go ahead and do that math. And that's the confidence you have to have. Once you get that agreement with God and you've seen him work in your life, there's nothing better than that combination. There's nothing better than his blessing or him using you as a conduit and showing you the power of your thoughts, right? Thoughts become things, so why don't you use it the right way? Thoughts become things for you. Once you realize that you've gotten everything that you need, thoughts become things for other people. What can I build for somebody else? What can I create for somebody else? Right? How can I think something else into existence? I realize my inputs, let me check them and correct them. So I'm making sure that I'm not talking and surrounding myself with the wrong crowd or the wrong thought process, because the wrong thought process will eventually manifest into my actions. Right. So if I'm lethargic, I'm apathetic, I don't feel like doing. I'm around a bunch of other people. And sometimes what we do is we go find people who think worse than us so that our thoughts aren't that bad. So we find people that are in worse positions. We find people that can make us feel good, like, oh man, I slacked off. I ain't doing that bad. Look at Rodney, right? Or look at such and such. Look at him, Wooty Wham. Shout out to my dude Rodney. It ain't that Rodney, but my partner Rodney. He doing good things. His son doing amazing things. So, but I just wanted to, clarify that. Like, you got to really, really check your circle, because your circle is going to be kind of really your information portal. Where else are you going to learn from? If you ain't learning from your parents, you ain't learning from people you're interacting with, who are you following? 9 times out of 10, it's the same people that are in your circle. That's who you're following, the same people that they're following. You start competing on the wrong things. I told somebody, man, once you hang around monkeys long enough, you'll start thinking bananas matter, right? You really will. You're like, man, damn, I ain't got enough bananas. I remember that in the pen. Cass is sitting there talking about cans of roast beef. Oh, I'm balling. They have it nice and neatly stacked. I'm like, man, these are cans of roast beef, right? We are clear on that, but it's the environment. So you're only limited to think as high as your environment will allow you to. So if you got a limited thought process, you're going to be either ostracized, you're not going to fit in with the group, they're going to try to push you out, which I've never fit in with a group. It just never happens, because I'm always evolving, right? I'm always transforming into somebody else. And who I was last year, I'm damn sure not this year. If you thinking I was some close to what I was 20 years ago, man. And that's the thing. I've accepted my updates. A lot of times when we on Windows, right, what's the first thing we do? We reject the updates. Oh, nah, I don't want that update. Oh, nah, I don't want this. Nah, I don't. Nah. We kind of push it down, push it down, push it down. Why? Because it may take a long time. It may not necessarily be something that we thinking we're cool. We thinking we're in a position where I don't need to be updated. I'm fine how I am. I don't need to learn anything else. Why? Because learning requires effort. And if I have to put forth some effort, that may require me. I'm kind of chilling. I don't want. Sometimes you got to be uncomfortable. You got to show up, right? I told you guys I went to the TED Talk and it rained the next day. The lady had me looking at things different, right? Just on that alone, and a lot of stuff you don't even realize that you're changing because you absorbed it subconsciously. You didn't even realize that it was going on. You just absorbed it. So if you're not in the right environment, you're going to absorb things, constant cussing. Like a lot of kids, when you see them behavioral issues, it's the reason being is because their behavior's jacked up because they're watching back jacked up behavior. You ask cats what they want to do. I don't know what I want to do. Why? Because nobody's talking about career aspirations. Nobody's talking about how easy it is to do something. Nobody's talking about the steps and the advantages you have now because we have the internet and you can basically look up whatever you want and learn how to do it. I don't care what it is. Let's look it up. Let's figure it out. Right? We got the advantage now, right? Not only can we think things into existence, we can put it down on paper and then get on the computer and basically break it down step by step. Thing of beauty, isn't it? We living in the greatest time alive. I promise you we are. Our brains, we're moving away from labor to where we're not caught up into sitting there spending 8 hours, 10 hours manual labor, and then we don't have time to think. Right? We shouldn't just do, we got to put thought behind it as well. And the power in that, right? How we can expand that thought, how we can reach out and touch somebody through thought, wish them well, pray for them, speak life into that ass by just thinking about it. That's free. It doesn't cost you anything. It may cost you a few energy thing, like calories, because when you think things, you are burning calories, right? I'm on uh, reading a book called, I told you guys last time, Breaking the Habit of Being You. And it talked about an experiment to where they had someone think a certain thing. It was, I forget. I'll get back to you guys on that because I can't remember exactly how to put it. When I listen to it a little bit more, I'll get back to you in that story. But it was basically how um, someone thought it was almost the same effectiveness as someone actually doing it and them thinking it, right? And I used to do this experiment in juvenile hall where I would have the students think about a lemon, right? And I would be like, think about it, close your eyes. And Les Brown does it too. And I got it from Les Brown. So shout out to Les Brown. But you think about a lemon, you bite in the lemon, close your eyes. Most of them started physically salivating. They're like, my sour. And I'm like, how did you guys do that with no physical lemon? And I was like, that just right there shows you the power of your mind, that it can actually have a physiological impact on you, right? So think about what you can do with that. Think about how you can transport energy, right? People call, what they say, we're telepathic. My wife and I call at the same time. We'll be thinking about each other at the same time. That shit is real. I don't care what anybody says. You know what I'm saying? That shit is real. You don't have to believe. That's the thing about the belief system. Whether you believe it or not, you're absolutely correct. So if you don't believe something, you don't believe in the power of thought, it's never going to work for you. It's never gonna work. So you'll be right. Like, man, this shit don't work. Nah, not for you, homie. I've been killing the game ever since I figured it out, though. Right? And I'm thinking blessings for other people as well, right? You could think smooth things. I'm about to do X, Y, Z, or you could think things are gonna be difficult. But whatever you think, you're absolutely correct. So you might as well start training your brain, homie. You might as well start getting some exercise and figuring out, how I could start to shape which way I'd like it to go, right? How can I make that happen? How can I make what I want to happen a reality? How can I bring things into fruition? It's the term that you hear. Well, you better start thinking about it. You better start thinking in detail. You better start thinking in color. You better start thinking in uh, depth, clarity, location. You better get on your Yo Gotti because if you bag her, if you get the girl, you better not be like, oh, we about to, I think, oh man, what you want to do? He already had it, man. We going to the bar. We going here. We going here. I'm taking her here. When we come to Memphis, we going here. Already got it laid out. So like I said with the lottery, I'm telling my wife, I said, whether we hit the lottery or not, it's gonna happen for us. And this is what, so when we walk, we walk by Manhattan Beach, and I'm trying to get her to think Manhattan Beach because Bruce's Beach, and I want, like, we need to own a piece of this. So I have no idea how it's gonna happen. I'm just telling you. I'm like, I think the chicken's gonna get us there. But I honestly have no freaking clue how it's gonna happen. And now I'm okay with that. But I think it to existence. I know what I want. I know what it's going to look like. I know what we getting built. I know all that because I'm thinking about it now so that I'm not shocked and surprised when it gets here. And you'll notice that about most successful people. They're not shocked and surprised about their success. They've thought about it thoroughly. You ask, are you shocked to be here? They'd be like, nah, man, I've been thinking about this shit since I was a kid. I've been going over and over this in my mind. Kanye West, I already had this speech. I've been waiting on this speech. I've been practicing this since I was a kid. That is thought. That is thinking things into existence. and thoughts become things. And if you want the finer things in life, make sure your thoughts are fine. And if you want something for yourself, think something to existence for somebody else first. That's how this universe works. That will complete our weekly tap in for this week. I'm still reading. What am I? There we go. I'll show it to you guys once again so you guys can see. Let me just pull it up. Breaking the habit of being yourself. I certainly appreciate you guys joining me tonight. Those who are listening on the replay, I am showing them my book list from Audible, which contains. So you guys can see this on YouTube too. If you're listening, you want to actually see. You can actually see this on YouTube. Let me go ahead and put it in the screen so you guys can see. So I'm still reading that. Psycho-Cybernetics is really good too. Really encourage that one. Really good. I read that and you know where, but it was really good. Good place for me to read it at. Right by my partner from PJ Watts kept talking about the business, the business. This is back in the day. But anyways, I'm digressing. So check it out. Make sure you guys tap in, man. I certainly appreciate you guys. If you haven't left us a review, please do so, man. I am really trying to bring it, man. And I'm trying to bring it to a whole nother level, but I can't do it without you guys. So make sure that we let the world know I need subscribers, all that stuff so we can grow as an individuals, grow this podcast and grow this audience. So I appreciate you guys tapping in for this week. Make sure you guys hit the like, subscribe, and I will see y'all next week. Tapping out.